Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Sunday evening, March 9, 2025. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video. I'd really appreciate it if you guys get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak months of Atlantic hurricane season. That's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Please ensure that you all utilize the progress bar that's located at the bottom of the video, as well as the timestamps that are located not only in the comment section but the video description, so that you can skip to the points in the video that you want to see the most in order to save time, because we know that the videos over here where the Jamaica can be very long. Leave a comment down below letting me know what the that's been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so we're going to be looking at what the next 7 days have in store for us according to the latest Euro and GFS supercomputer model runs that came out today. So keep your eyes focused on the timestamp right here at the top as we go out to the next 168 hours, that's the next 7 days. Keep your eyes focused on Jamaica right here as we look for all of this that we see on the key on the right. The reds, the oranges, the yellows, and the greens that represent inches of rainfall. So let's see what's going to be taking place. As we head into Monday morning, we do see some dots of greens to the north of us, to the east of us, to the west of us. That represents some amount of isolated shores. And then by the end of the day on Monday, we see some isolated shores across the western end. Let us match that latest Euro to the latest GFS. Let's see if we have agreement. Monday morning, first of all, we see that rainfall to the west of us, we see it to the northeast of us. And then by Monday afternoon, we see some dots of greens across the northeast and the northwestern section of the island. We'll see it actually plays out. Let's check out Tuesday morning. Tuesday morning, first of all, we see the moisture associated with that airflow pressure and the frontal system attached to it, extending all the way down to the Bahamas, Cuba, the Western Caribbean, and Honduras. But across Jamaica, we don't see much of anything for Tuesday morning, but we do see some moisture to the north and west of us in the dots of greens. Then by the end of the day on Tuesday, we start to get on some moisture. We see the greens across sections of some central and western parishes. Let us match that to the latest GFS. Let's see if we have consensus. Tuesday morning, we see the line of shores associated with the frontal system as well, from the Bahamas into Cuba, the Western Caribbean, Honduras. Some dots of greens to the south and to the north of us. But it's by Tuesday afternoon that we start to see what the Euro was showing. The central and western parishes getting in on some amount of afternoon rainfall for sure. Then as we head into Wednesday morning, look at the moisture surrounding the island, extending it to the Western Caribbean, going all the way up into portion of Haiti, Dominican Republic, extending up into the northern portion of North Atlantic. Then it's by Wednesday afternoon that we see the dots of greens across the entire island for sure. That's where we're going to be getting on some afternoon rainfall. Even the GFS is showing something similar. We see the moisture to the north of us, to the south of us, extending up into eastern Cuba, Haiti, Dominican Republic. Then by Wednesday afternoon, we see that rainfall also across central and western parishes, not as widespread as what the Euro was showing. We'll see how it actually plays out. Thursday morning, what do we see? We see moisture to the east and to the south of us. Very interesting. Then by Thursday afternoon, we see rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. Let's match that latest Euro to the latest GFS. Thursday morning, rainfall to the south of us, to the north of us. Thursday afternoon, rainfall across mainly central and western parishes. Let's see what's in store for Friday. Friday morning, first of all, we see moisture extending from the northeastern Caribbean, the US and British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, all the way to the south of Hispaniola, and the interportion of central and eastern parishes in Jamaica. Very interesting for Friday morning. Then by Friday afternoon, we see that rainfall extending all across the island from the east to the west. Let us match that latest Euro to the latest GFS. Friday morning, we see that moisture extending from the waters to the north of Puerto Rico into Haiti, Dominican Republic, eastern Cuba, central and eastern Jamaica. Very interesting. Then by Friday afternoon, we see that rainfall across central and eastern parishes. Very interesting. And then we're back at Saturday, and we see that for Saturday morning, 12 Z's actually, 7 a.m. on Saturday, and we see the moisture extending from the waters to the south of us, north of us, eastern Jamaica, extending all the way over into Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, northeastern Caribbean, especially the waters to the north of Puerto Rico. We see those dark greens and yellows. Lots of rainfall expected. And by the end of the day on Saturday, we see that rainfall across section of eastern, central, and western parishes. Let's see what the GFS is showing for Saturday morning. Saturday morning, rain to the north of us, to the southwest of us, extending into Hispaniola and northern Puerto Rico. But it's by Saturday afternoon that we see that we don't have much of anything to get in on. It's not as robust like what the Euro was showing at all. Let's see it actually plays out. And we're going to be stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours. So this is valid for Sunday, March 16, and we see the moisture to the west of us, to the south of us, to the east of us. And we also see another frontal system right here extending from the east coast of the US down into Florida and the eastern Gulf. And if we match that to the latest GFS, we see something similar with the frontal system all the way down to the Gulf, as well as some moisture across eastern Jamaica, the waters to the east of us extending into portions of Hispaniola. It's going to be interesting to see how it actually plays out, either way in terms of the total accumulated precipitation forecast for the next 7 days. Both maps right here from the Euro and the GFS are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until Sunday, March 16. And we can see the greens into the yellows into the oranges into the reds that represent what we see here on the key on the right. That's the 0.1 of an inch of rainfall all the way up to an inch of rainfall. And we can clearly see that it's going to be affecting sections of Florida, sections of Cuba, sections of the Bahamas right here, so to Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the US and British Virgin Islands, Montserrat, St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua and Barbuda, Anguilla, Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago. And we see that the rainfall is going to be increasing in intensity the more south we go, because if we even look at the GFS, look at the dark reds into the purples and the pinks that represent anywhere from let's say 2 inches of rainfall all the way up to 5 inches of rainfall. That's what's going to be expected for sections of Puerto Rico, well, sections of Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana, southern and western Venezuela, Colombia, eastern Panama, while we see the up to 1 inch of rainfall range expected for most of Panama, Costa Rica, eastern Nicaragua right here, sections of Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, the Yucatan Peninsula and Belize getting in on some of that as well. And we can clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in agreement with this forecast. I know that when they're in agreement like this, the chances for it actually happening is higher for sure. If we take a look at the total accumulated precipitation over the next 7 days from the Euro and GFS across Jamaica, the Euro has been adamant that the most rainfall should be across eastern parishes with all of those yellows going all the way up to 39 millimeters of rainfall. We see the blues into the greens represent anywhere from 5 millimeters into 25 millimeters of rainfall extending across central and western Jamaica. But it's the GFS that is a bit more reserved with the rainfall totals just going up into the blues, 5 millimeters, into the greens, 15 to 20 millimeters. Not as robust like what the Euro was showing. We see the Euro showing the most rainfall over the next 7 days. Should be across eastern Jamaica, Portland, Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Thomas. The GFS believes that most of the rainfall should be across southeastern Trelawney, southwestern St. and northern Manchester and northwestern Clarendon. We know these things change, it's not set in stone, so we have to take these forecasts with a grain of salt and always stay updated to see exactly what's going to be taking place. And I'll definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs on our other social media platforms. Taking a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, we can see a ridge of high pressure right here across the east coast of the US, another ridge of high pressure right here to the northwest of the Cabo Verde Islands. We can see numerous frontal systems across the northern portion of North Atlantic extending into portion of the southern US, another frontal system right here extending from northern portion of North Atlantic to the north of the eastern Caribbean, another ridge of high pressure right here to the north of Puerto Rico and Hispaniola. And we know the ridges of high pressure are responsible for sending all of the easterly trade winds across the main development region through the Caribbean. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before the sun went down, we can make out all of these entities. First of all, the numerous clouds across the waters of the North Atlantic, extending into portions of the southern US associated with the frontal systems. The other frontal system that we mentioned, that's extending down to the north of the Eastern Caribbean. And we know the ridge of high pressure is right here to the north of Hispaniola. Another one is right here to the northwest of the Cabo Verde Islands. And we know the ridges of high pressure are responsible for sending all of those easterly trade winds across the main development region, so the Caribbean. And these easterly trade winds are definitely bringing some low to mid-level clouds for sure throughout the basin. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Sunday, March 9, 2025. It was stated that rainfall was in the forecast of parts of eastern Jamaica on Sunday morning, also affecting sections of some western parishes on Sunday afternoon. I want to know eastern parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Surrey, like Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrew. Western parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall, like Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, Westmoreland, and St. Elizabeth. And what ended up happening? As early as around 7:51 a.m., the visible satellite images were posted not only here on our Twitter page of Weather Jamaica, but they were also posted on our Instagram page of weather.jamaica, on our TikTok page of Weather Jamaica, and on our Facebook page of Weather Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there as we make posts throughout the day that you can't afford to miss. So we can see the visible satellite images that were posted this morning, and they highlighted that we're indeed getting some amount of clouds, bring some overcast skies, if not some isolated showers to sections of St. Thomas and Portland, eastern Jamaica in general. We saw some clouds passing to the north of the island. Some of these clouds even made it on shore across coastal areas of St. Anne and St. Mary, but those mainly brought overcast skies to those spots. It was the eastern end that got in on the isolated shower activity for sure, just as predicted. And then by afternoon, the visible satellite images posted at around 4:56 p.m. and it highlighted some clouds bringing some overcast skies, if not some isolated showers to section of western Jamaica for sure. So anywhere from Trelawney westward, St. James, section of Hanover, Westmoreland definitely gotten some overcast skies, if not some isolated showers. And we even gotten some of the action across western Portland, northern St. Andrew, northern St. Catherine, as well as sections of St. Mary for sure. Definitely gotten on the overcast skies, if not some isolated showers. And we even saw some clouds right here to the east of Portland at around that time too. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of Jamaica before we lost the sunlight, we can make out all of what we just saw on the social media platforms. The clouds to the east of Portland, the clouds across western Portland, section of northern St. Andrew, northern St. Catherine, St. Mary, section of Trelawney, St. James, Hanover, and Westmoreland got in on their fair share of clouds and isolated showers as well. And the infrared close-up satellite images confirm that we didn't receive any kind of cumulonimbus convection or anything like that. We don't see any blues or greens or yellows, oranges, and reds that represent deep convection. All we saw were the milky white shades that represent some low to mid-level clouds passing through. And the live camera from See Jamaica's YouTube channel right here at around 12:52 p.m. showing the panoramic city view confirms the weather conditions today: sunny conditions, windy conditions, as well as we can see by the trees moving in the wind, people in their vehicles going about their business right here to the north of the National Stadium and National Arena. And I would like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to see more live streams like this, you can visit See Jamaica on YouTube. They have these live streams for your viewing pleasure. And they not only have the panoramic city view here, but they also have Halfway Tree, Crossroads, as well as the Bogwalk Gorge in St. Catherine. So subscribe today so that you don't miss out. Taking a look at the total accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours from the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website. This map isn't 100% accurate, but it does kind of paint quite the picture of where we might have had the rainfall today, across the eastern end in the morning, and then across the western end during the afternoon. And remember, we got some of the activity across western Portland, northern St. Catherine, northern St. Andrew, St. Mary for sure. Don't know about this part of St. Andrew, but for the most part, what we see here is a bit accurate. And we have at least one comment here from one of our followers on our platform, our Facebook platform at that. We have Esther, right, stating slight drizzle, and this was posted 2 hours ago. Thank you for confirming the weather in your area, Esther. Either way, if we reload the latest image from the Weather Nerds website, let's see what's taking place right now. The latest image is showing 0025 UTC, which is actually 7:25 p.m. So this just came out 5, 10, 15, 16 minutes ago, considering that it is 7:41 p.m. now. And we can see some clouds right here to the northwest of the island, some of it onshore across sections of St. James and Hanover as we speak, but most of the activity out to sea. We can even see some clouds right here to the northeast of Portland, some clouds right here offshore too. And if we match what we just saw on the latest still image from the Weather Nerds website to the latest Cuban Doppler radar imagery, let us reload this so that we have the very latest to show. Alright, so it's even making sense. We can definitely make out some of the isolated shore activity out to sea right here off the coast of Hanover, coast of St. James, to the northwest of there as well. In the greens and the yellows that represent moderate to fuerte, moderado to fuerte, that's moderate to heavy rainfall. And we can see some rainfall right here, equidistant from Jamaica and the western peninsula of Haiti, definitely coinciding with what we saw on the latest infrared. The clouds are right here, the clouds are right here, so it makes sense that the rainfall is right there as well. And if we take a look at the latest from the Guantanamo Bay Cuban Naval Radar imagery, as a matter of fact, let's reload this so that we have the very latest. And we can make out the light to moderate to some slightly heavy rainfall right there, pushing from the western peninsula of Haiti towards the west, equidistant from Jamaica and Haiti. And if we take a look at the Cayman radar, let's reload this one so that we have the very latest as well. Alright, so the very latest Cayman radar is showing us now we have some isolated showers to the southwest of the Cayman Islands. We also have some isolated showers to the east of Grand Cayman. We also see that rain band to the northwest of Jamaica, just like what we saw on the Cuban radar. Taking a look at what's happening right now, according to See Jamaica's YouTube channel, we can see the Barbican camera right here showing people, well, basically chilling on the roadside with the dry weather. You see people in their vehicles going about their business. Nothing in the way of bad weather taking place at all this evening, and that should be the order of the night. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, we can see we have 26 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 25 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Monday, temperature should dip down to about 23 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 22 degrees Celsius in Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is valid for 18Z on Monday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Monday, and you can see Jamaica right here embedded in some slight orange colors. That will represent to at least 2 degrees Celsius above normal temperature, and we know the normal temperature for the month of March across the island is about 87.3 degrees Fahrenheit, and when that's converted to degrees Celsius, that's about 30.7 degrees Celsius. So it should be receiving anywhere from 30.7 to 32.7 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Monday. And if tomorrow is going to be a bit too hot for you, we have some tips right here to beat the heat. Well, first of all, we didn't have anything from my JPS Online's Twitter page to highlight, so I guess they have the day off on Monday. Nothing to see here, but it could get hot either way. It states here, when you're hot or to prevent heat-related illnesses, ensure that you dress down, wear lightweight clothing and use sunscreen. Check on others, including children, elderly people with medical conditions and pets. Be cool, stay indoors and make use of fans and air conditioners. Avoid alcohol and caffeine as they can make dehydration worse. Limit non-essential strenuous activity during the hottest part of the day. And I cannot stress the importance of drinking lots of water throughout the day, even if you're not thirsty. So please to put away those sugar drinks and drink water instead. Taking a look at the dry air map, we know that the dry air is represented by what we see here on the key on the bottom. That's the yellows, the oranges, the reds, and the whites within those rays. And we can see the abundance of dry air extending all across the entire Atlantic basin in general. We know the dry air is responsible for making the atmosphere stable, making it harder for it to rain, making it harder for us to get storms this time of year. And we see the abundance of dry air across the waters of the eastern main development region, across the waters of the Gulf as well. Lots of dry air across the entire basin. But we like to see the yellows. The yellows represent the low end of the scale in terms of dry air, so it represents the moist air, not to mention all of the blues that we see here across the eastern Pacific and the intertropical convergence. So that's where the most moist air is across the basin as we speak. But regarding the Saharan dust forecast for 1 p.m. on Monday, we can see that the US, the Bahamas, the Caribbean, Northern South America, and Central America should be in the clear, because all the browns that represent the Saharan dust should be across portions of the main development region, and it's not that vigorous of a plume either. We don't see the dark shades of brown that will not represent that vigorous plume that can cause very hazy skies, not to mention trigger some amount of respiratory illnesses in some persons, asthma, sinusitis. So we're indeed grateful that this is the forecast for 1 p.m. on Monday. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we see that extending from the Bahamas into the Western Caribbean, Central and Eastern Caribbean, we should be getting on those light shades of blues to dark shades of blues that represents anywhere from 0.5 meter wave height all the way up to 1.5 meter wave height. The Gulf getting up to the purples into the pinks, that's 2 to 3 meter wave height, and that's because of the winds that are expected. Look at the bright greens into yellows that represents anywhere from 20 to 25, maybe even gusting to 30 knots from the northwest. We see that northwesterly flow across the Gulf. We see more of an easterly flow across the eastern to the central Caribbean, curving northward across the western Caribbean right here. And it all makes sense. The winds are going to be making these small waves across the eastern to the central to the western Caribbean, while it's these strong winds across the Gulf that are going to be kicking up the seas. And if we take a look at Jamaica's wave forecast, on the north coast up to 0.9 of a meter wave height expected, 1.1 meter wave height on the south coast, or maybe even higher than that. Let's see, 1 meter wave height, and that's because of the winds that are expected. First of all, we see the wind coming in from the east tomorrow for sure, more of an east-southeasterly flow on the south coast, averaging up to at least 8 knots on the north coast, 12 knots on the south coast, and we see where that air should be piling up across mainly sections of some maybe northern and western parishes. We'll see it actually plays out if we actually get some daytime heating rainfall. Either way, the upper level winds seem to be coming in from the west tomorrow, so those high cold cloud tops, if we get some convection, will be blown off towards the east. But tomorrow is not looking promising in terms of rainfall at all. Look at this rainfall forecast. This is valid for 8 a.m. on Monday, and what do we see? We see some blues across the water to the north of us, as well as across the eastern end. Maybe some isolated showers out to sea, maybe some of that coming on shore and maybe eastern Portland or eastern St. Thomas side. We'll see it actually plays out. Keep in mind that this is valid for 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 7 a.m. Jamaica time, so daylight savings time is up, or it started, something along those lines. Either way, we're back now on United States Central US time in Jamaica. But those of you who use computers, if you haven't changed that time as yet, what are you waiting for? I'm sure that your clock is 1 hour behind your computer time, if you know what I'm talking about. Either way, by about 3 p.m, this is what the maps are showing. We see some blues, maybe the same areas again, western Portland, section of St. Mary, northern St. Andrew. The same spots like today, maybe sections of Hanover, St. James getting in on some of the action. We'll see it actually plays out, and we see that both accumulated precipitation forecast maps from the Euro and the GFS are adamant that it could rain somewhere in Jamaica tomorrow. GFS definitely on the low end of the scale in terms of rainfall, only up to 0.09 of an inch of rainfall. Across the western end, across the northeastern end, the Euro a bit more robust, going up into the slight yellow, 0.25, 0.3 of an inch of rainfall across the western end and northeastern end. We'll see it actually plays out. Either way, whatever happens, we'll take it. We're in the month of March, and during this month, we usually receive up to at least 10 millimeters of rainfall in Kingston, whose bar graph is being shown right here at the top. In Montego Bay, we usually receive up to 2.2 inches of rainfall. And I'd like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to find out what your specific parish usually receives for the month of March or for the entire year in terms of rainfall, you can visit weatherandclimate.com, and that website will show you that information. And you can use this nice graphic right here that converts rainfall from inches to millimeters. You know that 1 inch of rainfall is about the same as 25 millimeters of rainfall, so you can do the calculations yourself. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So as stated, we have some clouds associated with the frontal system extending right here from northern portion of North Atlantic all the way down to the north of the eastern Caribbean. Nothing significant really taking place apart from the frontal systems affecting the southern Gulf states. We can also see the thunderstorm activity across sections of northern South America, Colombia eastward, Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana for sure. And if we take a look at the Doppler radar images near Puerto Rico today, as we usually do, let's see what was taking place or what's happening right now. Section of western Puerto Rico definitely getting on some isolated shores as we speak, 7:45 p.m. And if we load these images from earlier today, they were indeed getting on that rainfall earlier today. Didn't see much in the way of rainfall across the Leeward Islands at all. But if we take a look at Barbados radar, we can make out that moisture. The northeasterly flow, just some isolated showers in the blues and greens, some light to moderate rainfall passing from northeast to southwest to the east of Martinique. Some of that might make it into section of St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Grenadines already getting nailed. Grenada, if they haven't been getting it yet, they're definitely next in line. Maybe some of the isolated showers could make it as far as Tobago and then Trinidad afterwards. We take a look at the bar of the wider view of Doppler radar images. You can see some isolated shores across the waters of Colombia. And if you take a look at where the rainfall is expected within the next 24 hours, both maps here from the Euro and the GFS are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 3Z on Tuesday, which is actually 10 p.m. on Monday. And we can clearly see the greens into the yellows. That represents anywhere from 0.1 of an inch of rainfall up to 0. Maybe 4, 0.5 of an inch of rainfall expected for section of Florida, the eastern Gulf, section of the western portions of Cuba, northern Bahamas, sections of the Yucatan, Belize, Guatemala associated with the frontal system that's over there as we speak. So to Costa Rica, Panama, section of Colombia, southern and eastern Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana getting on the mix, sections of Martinique, Dominica, Trinidad and Tobago, Puerto Rico, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Jamaica, section of the Cayman Islands as well. And we can clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in agreement with this forecast. I know that when they're in agreement like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.